wanted to talk a little more about type on a path and different things we can do to accomplish that. So I'm going to choose one of the path tools here, one of these shape-based path tools. I can choose any of them. Notice if we want a triangle, we can use the polygon and reduce the number of sides to 3. We'll create a path, and then if we choose the type tool and move carefully over the edge, we notice we get the type on a path icon. So then we'll build a path-based type. And again, like the other projects, one of the most important things we can do is the choice of typeface. So we want to choose something somewhat triangular for this. And again, when we're done, we're going to turn off the shape itself. But I'm going to use the shape just as the baseline for type on a path. So I'll copy this and repeat it around that path, putting maybe a space between it. And there's a few other things we need to be aware of for type on a path. Notice if we zoom in a little, we can see, I'm going to choose a different typeface for this, but just to talk about the technical features of this. There's several ways we can choose this type on a path, and we can change the insertion point or the start point of it. We can use the path selection tool or the direct selection tool to choose the type itself and move that around. We have to be a little clever. Notice we can change, if we drag it inside, it's a little bit tricky. Oh man, come on. I'm trying to give a lecture here. All right, as you can see, it's a little tricky. If we're careful, we can drag that. Well, thankfully we have undo. Stepping backwards through that, we can drag that insertion point and change where the beginning and the end of it is, as well as, we're really clever and get it to behave. Oh man, almost had it. You can drag it on the inside of the shape if you should need to. But let's get rid of this and talk about other examples we could do. I'll get rid of my polygon. So I'll choose any shape from here. You can also make your own custom shape or use one of the custom shapes. So down here, if we go to custom shape tool, we can select any of these custom shapes. Like the brushes, we can load different sets of shapes from here. And I can load them all at once in this case because it's a fairly limited set of shapes. So I can look at all of my shapes down here and choose a shape and then draw a shape with it, and then click with the type tool and get type on a path. And again, first thing I want to do is choose a typeface that would make sense for what I'm trying to say or what I'm doing in terms of the personality of the typeface and what we're doing with it according to the meaning of that. And then we can turn the shape itself off when we're done. And lastly, just we use the arrow tool, we can click cleverly in there and change where the start point is, or, oh, come on, or flip it onto the inside. So when we're done, we want nothing but the shape there. So I'll copy that text by double clicking on the type layer, selecting it all, and then pasting it, maybe putting a space in between it. So one of these should be type on a path. Oh, yeah. And we shouldn't need the shape to see the completed shape of the hand there. So another thing we can do with the type on a path tool is draw our own path from freeform. So if you're familiar with Adobe Illustrator, get rid of this example. Get rid of that layer. If you're familiar with Adobe Illustrator, the simplest way to make your own vector-based shape is to single click to get a corner with the pen tool, or if you click and drag, you get a Bezier point. So the Bezier points are the handles that determine the tension on the curve. And like the insertion point for the type, you can use the black arrow tool or the selection tool to move all of the points, or the direct select tool to just move one of the points. It's a little tricky. You have to know where the point is, so you can drag an imaginary box around the point. And we'll notice the selected point is black, and the other ones are open or white. there's more to the type tool or the pen tool. I can convert a corner to a curve if I click and drag in the direction that the line was drawn. And I can convert a curve to a corner or split up a curve into two separate curves. So back to my example though, I'll use the pen tool. Another way to use the pen tool, going back over here, is the freeform pen tool. So I don't have to be a wizard with the pen tool just to click and drag something and draw a shape. Okay, stop. So I'll click and drag and then hit the enter key to stop it. Now I can choose the type tool and insert some type, and it gets rid of the line, so there's no shape there. It's just using it as the baseline for my type. And again, first thing you'd want to do is change and choose parameters that fit the nature of the thing that we're trying to illustrate, or kind of first thing to choose the font that would really fit that. So I want to choose something that has an italic version that's fairly big, that also has italic. And again, if I can't find a regular italic, I can use the character palette to make a faux italic. So then once I've got that, I'll copy it, make sure I've spelled it correctly, and then paste it a bunch of times. So the idea is to make the image a picture of the symbolic representation of type. So again, there are three kinds of visual information. There's signs, symbols, and pictures, and type is symbolic to the understander of that language. So if I'm trying to read Greek and I don't understand the Greek alphabet, I don't understand what the symbol represents. We want to turn that symbol into a picture of what it represents. And then again, we'll turn all three projects in on the Canvas project by midnight on the due date.